Hi guys, hope everyone is doing great. I am here in this video to answer the frequently asked question, should I get a Keto Mojo? And also along with that, is it okay to wait to get the Keto Mojo? So I am a huge fan of the Keto Mojo. I think it's a great tool to use during this program. I'm going to cover three main reasons why. And then before I do that, I do just want to mention, for some people going through the program, they want to get the Keto Mojo right away. I think that's fantastic. I think it's a really good way to dive deep and really have a wonderful understanding of what you're doing. For other people diving into the program, they want to first master some of the main concepts that we're teaching, and they want to plan on getting the Keto Mojo for the future. That's totally fine as well. As always, we want to make sure that we are building the foundations for you guys. Everyone's journey is different, and we welcome that in this program. So our number one goal is for you to feel at ease during the program, to not cause overwhelm. And so if the Keto Mojo for you is just not something you're into at this time, that's totally fine. All right, so the three main things that the Keto Mojo does that I love is, one, it's going to tell you whether or not you're fasting, which is going to come into play as we start to increase our fasting window, and I'll get into that in a minute. Number two, it's going to help you understand why you feel how you feel. And number three, it's going to help you set really, really clear black and white goals and hit certain numbers based on what those goals are. Okay, so for number one, fasting. When we start to increase our fasting window, so whether we are skipping snacks between meals or, later in the program where we start to go a little bit longer between our dinner one day and our breakfast the next day, you can actually start to, what I like to call, hack the program, and you can put certain things in that window. And I'm going to give a specific example so that that's more clear. So for instance, if you say are going for a 14-hour fasting window, and so you're going to stop dinner at a certain time and you're not going to eat breakfast until a certain time, you would have no food within that time period in order to stay in what's called a fasted state. However, there's certain things that you can have based on your body chemistry during that window and still be in a fasted state. And the only way to know what you can have in and still get the benefits is by using the Keto Mojo. So for me, I know I can have a fatty coffee. What I mean by that is I can have coffee with some MCT oil, coconut oil. If I'm doing dairy, I can even have a little bit of organic heavy cream in it, and I stay in a fasted state. That was huge information for me to get later on when I personally had a goal of doing longer fasts because I wanted to hit the higher number of fasts in order to help clear out Lyme disease. The longer the fasts that we'll get into later for people who are wanting to have a certain effect on our health. And so knowing what you can have in that window is really key because it's going to make it easier to increase that fasting window. Other people find out they can have, if they're not coffee drinkers, they can maybe have some electrolyte drinks, tea with perhaps a little bit of lemon. So that is really, really neat information later on in the program. If you're someone who's not going to want to try to hit the longer fast at this point, don't worry about it. Another thing is to help you understand why you're feeling how you're feeling. So there's two main things that the Keto Mojo measures by taking our blood through a simple blood prick. It's going to measure our ketones and it's going to measure our glucose. And so what we want to see during the program is that as our glucose lowers, blood sugar lowers, most of us are used to thinking, I'm not going to feel well. That number going low is totally fine as long as your ketones are increasing. And so it's really neat to have this information because you can start to see if, for instance, okay, my blood sugar is lowering, but my ketones are not increasing. I need to up my fats to flip that switch. And so I feel really good and crystal clear. What happens when you fine tune and really tap into that is not only do you not feel dizzy or a lot of the effects we think of blood sugar crash, but you actually feel really, really good. So I'm actually here in my office. It's a Monday. I'm going to be seeing patients all evening. I am doing a long fast And the reason I like to do my long fast on Mondays is it's my busiest day in the office. And so if I felt the effects of blood sugar crash, probably wouldn't want to be treating patients. I actually will find as the day goes on, I get more and more clear, I get more and more energetic, and I feel really, really good. So the reason that happens is because as my blood sugar goes down, my ketones are going up. And if they weren't, I wouldn't feel that way. So Keto Mojo helped me figure out for me what really helps my ketones go up. For some people, that will be increasing your fasting window, which we get into later in the program. For some people, that will be actually eating and getting fats in. And so that's really, really important and helpful information. The last thing is setting clear goals. So again, I mentioned for me, when I've gotten into ketosis and used fasting as a tool, I use it to help clear out Lyme disease. So I find the longer I'm living this lifestyle, the further and further I get from Lyme symptoms, and I can push the window really hard and, travel like we have done for conferences and, switch time zones and drop right back in from sometimes a red-eye flight into the kids, and I feel good. Whereas before I had to get like my 8, 9, 10 hours of sleep, or I would feel the effects of Lyme. And so we can really use these glucose and ketone numbers to set really clear goals. There's something called a GKI index, a glucose ketone index. And there's a formula for your two numbers, your measurements. And there's certain numbers that you want to hit depending on if your goals are something like clearing out chronic inflammation. A lot of people use ketosis actually for cancer, starving tumor cells, Parkinson's, traumatic brain injury, concussion. So there's a certain GKI index number you want to get if you're working on things like that. There's a different number that you would want to get if you're working on clearing out something like type 2 diabetes or insulin resistance. And then there's a third group and a third number formula if you're just looking for weight loss, overall maintenance, and healthy lifestyle. So it's a really neat way to really fine tune in and know exactly where you should be. We talk about different lifestyles and things like paleo or Whole30 or, different ways of eating. And there's really no way to measure, okay, are you in paleo? Are you getting the benefits of a paleo lifestyle? Ketosis is totally different. You can literally measure where you are. You can know, am I doing exactly what I need to do in order to get the benefit? Or am I maybe just getting a little bit too many carbs or not enough fat and I'm just missing that window? And when you tap into that, it's like your results, the way that you feel just skyrockets. So the Keto Mojo is a really great tool so that you can see with black and white, total objective measurement, whether you are in, whether you're out, and how far you need to go in order to switch that. Also, like I mentioned, it helps you figure out what are those little cheats that you can use to hack the system and give yourself some things while you're fasting. So I am a huge fan of Keto Mojo. I'm not someone who even likes to see my own blood by any means. I have a really hard time getting blood draws, yet I can do the Keto Mojo finger prick so easily. Super easy. Our older boys have actually done the prick on me. It's so easy, and I definitely am a huge fan of the tool. I'm going to make sure I'm going to post the link to our favorite Keto Mojo link where you can buy and get the best deal on a starter package. And as always, let me know if you guys have any questions. And just one last time, I'll say if this is not the time for you to tap into this tool and you want to just master some of the other aspects of the program, that's great too. Remember, each of us are on our own journey, and what's important is that you get the most out of the program for you. All right, guys, talk to you soon.